Hello, welcome to the Trophy Trust, your weekly podcast for PlayStation Trophy Hunters. I'm one of your hosts, that is you. Joining me this evening, we have the Vetronic,
Hello.
we have B-Tips,
Hello.
and we have Justin.
What's going on, everybody?
Good evening, gentlemen. It is another week. It's been a week since we did our E3 Extravaganza episode, our big 2-hour special, where we covered quite a lot of the big announcements for E3, which was the week prior or during the week prior. This won't be obviously as long as episode. It's now post E3, so the dust is now settled, and there's not too many sort of big news stories to talk about as such in our news section. But there's still stuff, the usual weekly stuff. But now we're past E3. There's no sort of like the build up to E3 where we get bigger and bigger increase of stories and leaks and all sorts of stuff. So it's quiet now. So we all know what we're looking forward to. And but thanks to everyone who listens to that episode, by the way. We had some really nice feedback about it. And it was a marathon of an episode, wasn't it, Vec? We went on for quite a while.
We went for 2 hours and 8 minutes, so I think it was very successful for what we did. So,
Yeah.
For 5 people in 1 hour, it was 2-hour session on the Saturday. That was amazing.
Never again.
Well, not until at least next year.
That was very fun, though, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It was good to get everyone's opinions, and we went through everything, and just took it a bit at a time, and we just discussed every game as we went along, and I liked it. It was nice. It was nice to break away from the regular format every now and then, and just do something different, and get a few more voices on the show. So anyway, speaking of the old video games, let's have a little chat about what we've been playing recently. So I'll tell you what, B-Tips, why don't you lead the way and tell us what you've been playing since last week?
Yeah.
I've been playing a lot of Fortnite. Not for Save the World or anything, like not for trophies. I've just been playing the Battle Royale.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of getting trophies off of, I'm still playing Neo. It's a pretty fun game. I think I said last week that I was in the middle of playing it.
I do recall you saying it, maybe not necessarily last week, but I do remember you saying that you've been playing a lot of Neo recently.
Yeah, that's the next game I plan on getting the platinum on and probably 100% on, and it's pretty fun. I'd honestly like to say it's harder than Dark Souls, because I played all 3 Dark Souls and Bloodborne, and honestly, Neo is 10 times harder than all of them, but it's still a pretty fun game, I'm not gonna lie.
Awesome. Just going back to talking about Fortnite, I recently gave it a go. When it came out on Nintendo Switch during E3, I downloaded it and gave it a go. The reason I haven't downloaded it on like PlayStation or anything is because I just wanted to try it. I didn't want to have like a trophy list, like stuck on my profile of like, 0% or whatever. So I just I assume it has trophies, right?
The Save the World does, like the PvE does.
So it would install a trophy list onto my profile, which is what I wanted to avoid, because I just wanted to just give the game a go, see what it's all about. And I downloaded it onto my Nintendo Switch, and I played 2 games of it and deleted it, and it's just not for me. I can see the hook. I can understand it totally. It's a nice looking game, at least on like Switch version. I totally get it, but it's really not for me. I've said it many, many, many times on this show. I am not into multiplayer at all. It's not for me. I always avoid it. But yeah, it's quite a sensation, isn't it? It's been in sort of like the world news, like the mainstream news about all this. Like, oh, my kid's addicted to Fortnite, and it's on the lips of concerned parents. But then again, it's weird, isn't it? How like this like history always seems to repeat itself, doesn't it? In regards to like not necessarily just within the video game circle, but like the previous generation, like thinking something is like warping their children, like used to be like, oh, rock music, and then or television, like in the early years of television and stuff. It's always something that the older generation seems to have like this problem with, because they don't quite understand it, and no doubt that'll probably happen to us and the next generation. So it's just inevitable, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's scary because we don't know anything about it. Like Pokemon, when it first came out, oh boy, or even Pokemon.
Yeah, I remember there being news reports back in the 90s when I was a little kid playing Pokemon about kids fighting in the playground over like Pokemon trading, or Pokemon card, like the actual trading cards fights over that. Yeah, kids were breaking into newsagents, sweet shops, whatever you want to call them, convenience stores. They were breaking into them overnight to steal Pokemon packs, you know, to get like shiny cards and stuff. So, but this is the kind of stuff that just always generally kind of happens. I mean, obviously that's no excuse for it, but I'm just saying that how history repeats itself with like these kind of things. You know, what the newest generation is growing up consuming in terms of like entertainment, like how they'd say like you know, like big deals when like movies come out and they're like quite violent, and it's like, oh, won't somebody please think of the children? All of that kind of like clutching at pearls and such. But I saw like an article being retweeted around on Twitter earlier this week about like the World Health Organization, WHO, saying that, you know, gaming addiction is now a recognized diagnosable issue. There was also another article as well about someone saying that their kid is addicted
to PC gaming for 20 hours.
Yeah, and every single person on my feed was retweeting that. It's like 20 hours, like what noobs? 20 hours a week.
Those are rookie numbers.
Absolutely.
Gotta bump those numbers up.
How much time you guys play on video games per week?
Man.
As much as possible.
I'm the same. Like, when I get
I would say it's probably like maybe a good 6, 7, maybe 8 hours a day.
Ooh.
So.
Holy shit.
Wow.
I think that like I don't know. I'm compared to like some people. I think I'm quite light because I like to play when I'm playing games. I like to take regular breaks anyway, just to sort of stay fresh. I don't really do marathons or anything, at least not anymore. Like going through the night or anything like that.
Yeah.
I maybe do 2, maybe 4 hours, like between 2 and 4 hours a day. It all depends on how tired I am from work, you know, what's going on in my life, the weather as well, because it gets really hot in my house. So if it's like a really hot day, I'm not going to be playing PlayStation for like hours.
That's exactly me, man. I can't play if it's like super hot in my house.
Yeah, so there's different variables, you know. But yeah, I think I'd say like 20, 25 hours a week, maybe upwards. But I take regular breaks anyway, and you know, I enjoy gaming, and I get bored. Like honestly, I couldn't sit there playing games for like 6 hours solid. I would literally get bored of it. I know the games are supposed to be entertaining, but I can only do the same thing for so long. So like, if I'm playing a game I'm really enjoying, I'll actually break it down even more. Like, so I like to savor games. If I'm really into a game, I can't just sit there and gun through it and like get it done. I like to be like, oh, I'll play a few hours here, then I'll take a break and come back tomorrow because I enjoy it. I don't want it to be over. So sometimes, you know, the sessions are smaller.
Also, that's why you choose like smaller indie type style games than big, large games like RPGs and such, right?
Well, not necessarily. I mean, I do like really long games and all that, but in between the big games, I like to play small games. It's just mixing it up, you know. Variety is the spice of life, as they say, and it's just palate cleanser is another phrase I use quite a lot when it comes to like playing a big game and going to a small one. It's just variety, you know. So I'm not afraid of like big 100-hour games. I've platinumed quite a few big 100-hour games, GTA 5 and Metal Gear Solid 5, for example, and a few other games I've like sunk like over 100 hours into. I'm not opposed to it, but I just like to be like a bit of variation, you know. Anyway, we've gone off the beaten track. So B-Tips, you saying you're playing a bit of Fortnite and you're still playing Neo. So is that everything? Okay, cool. Justin, how about you? What have you been up to?
Well, since last episode, I platinumed both stacks of Demetrials, that point-and-click game. It's about a 4-hour platinum. Kind of fun. It's like a little puzzle game. You're this little guy that he owns an antique shop, and he gets robbed, and you kind of got to go find your robber, and then it kind of leads you on to all kinds of shenanigans. It's a fun little game. Takes about 4 hours to platinum. And I did a PS4 and Vita stack for NA. I picked up Madden NFL 18. It was on sale this last week, so I've been kind of playing through that a little bit.
Cool.
Playing some of the game, and then the campaign I just started last night. And then last night again, I also picked up Orc Slayer for the EU stack, and that game I've been kind of playing through slowly, one level at a time, and trying not to end myself.
Well, let's go back to Demetrius. That's Demetrius the Big Cynical Adventure, isn't it?
That's right. Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've platinumed that game on Vita. I think I did it on. I'm not really a big fan of that game. I don't mind point and click.
Oh, really?
If you look through like my profile, I got quite a good few point and clicks platinums under my belt, and but yeah, I don't know. I just didn't. I can't really. It's just the character. I think I just didn't like the character. He's just such a whiny like asshole, to be honest. So I didn't really get behind it, and like I like the hand drawn style and all that. It was really cool, but I didn't really care about what was going on. I thought I'd give it a try. It's like you said, it's a short game. There's a platinum at the end of it, so I gave it a go. And yeah, I didn't really miss any trophies. There was one I think I was really lucky to be able to go back and get. You know, the one where you've got to go on the roof and something to do with the chimney or something.
Oh yeah, you gotta fall off the roof, and then you got to I know which one you're talking about.
I think that was the only one I had problems with. I had to like go back and redo, but it wasn't much of an issue. But yeah,
did you use a guide for all the puzzles and stuff, or did you play it through?
I just used the guide because you have to, because every screen in the game's got a cookie hidden in it, isn't it?
Yeah, 3 of them. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 cookies in. Yeah, so I used the guide for that because I wasn't really sure what I was going into, so I thought I'll just use a guide and just breeze through it. But yeah, I didn't really understand the story that much. Well, not understand it. I just didn't enjoy it.
Fair enough.
I can't really. Oh, go on. Sorry.
Oh, I just said fair enough. That it's not the best game. I mean, it's not going to be anyone's like top game of all time or anything like that. But I enjoyed it. I kind of like that style. I liked a little bit of a puzzle. I didn't use guide for most of the game, so I kind of just had to go, and I took a little bit longer to like figure out some of the puzzles and stuff. So maybe that was part of it, that you kind of have that little bit more puzzle aspect to it. But I don't know. I kind of enjoyed it for what it was. For a cheap little $5 game, it was alright.
On the just quickly on the topic of like point and clicks, and in particularly like hand drawn art, have you played any of the Inner World point and click games?
Inner World, I don't think so.
It's got a really nice style. There's 2 of them. There's I think the first one's just called The Inner World, and the second one's called The Inner World: The Last Wind Monk. It's got that's definitely an enjoyable point and click. It's got a really kind of goofy humor to it. It's sort of I can't explain the story. It's way too wacky. But I'd say just look it up because I picked up both in a sale. One a year or 2 ago. And then the last Wind Monk I actually picked up. I think it was earlier this year, actually. Just looking at my list now, it was back in February. So yeah, I was waiting for it to go on sale, the second game, because it was priced pretty high, and then it came on sale and it was like very reasonable. And I like the first game, and they are pretty easy platinums if you use a guide to get the puzzles. I had to go back because I messed up. It's one of those games where it's like it just auto saves all the time. So if you don't get it in the first go, you have to play the whole game through again, which I had to do, which is a bit of a pain in the ass. But it was once you know what to do, you can just smash through it. I think you can just tap and just skip all the dialogue. So it only took like about an hour, 2 hours to get through the whole game again. But
that was one thing. That was one thing about Demetrius that I really enjoyed is once you complete the game, they open up chapter select. So if you miss anything, you can just go back and go through all the chapters and quickly get everything. So
yeah. Chapter select is a godsend for trophy hunters for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, and that's pretty. You said NFL, right? And did you say one other thing?
Orc Slayer.
Orc Slayer, yeah, that was that. We've spoken about Orc Slayer before. It is rough.
It's forgettable.
Glitchy, and
I platinumed it once. I never want to do it again.
The last boss glitched on me. It wasn't taking any damage. I was just hitting it for about an hour and a half. And
the first time I did it, it took me 5 hours to kill the final boss.
Yeah, there's something wrong with hit detection or damage. It just wouldn't die, and I think I had to like melee kill it in the end. I think melee was the only damage it was registering. So
I think I died twice on the final boss just because I was getting so bored just constantly shooting at it the entire time.
Yeah, because you have to kind of like lead it around the area.
I literally just ran in a circle firing at it the entire time.
Yeah.
The thing is, I don't think it matters if you die. Like, I don't think it matters if you die. I think you can die as many times as you want.
I was still at the final boss when I respawned.
Yeah, that game is rough. It's an easy platinum if you want to put up with it, but like looking at potentially it could have been a good game, but it's just so rough and like kind of broken in places.
Well, the hit detection is so terrible.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very bad.
Yep. Okay. Well, fair enough. We'll move on then. Vec, how about you? What have you been up to?
So, the week before V3, I played through Jack 2, and I have to say, I finally platinumed that game alongside Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD on PS3. So,
Nice.
Yeah, so Jack 2 on PS4. It was a replay of that game I played on PS2 back in the day. So it was PS2, then PS3, now PS4, and I gotta say the PS4 version is not the best version. It's not well optimized, and now I'm going to Jack 3 soon enough. But before I jumped into Jack 2, I was playing for a bit Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD, which I have not talked about in this show. So here's the thing. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD is supposed to be an HD port of the original Tony Hawk's Pro Skater that came out in '99 on PS1 and was ported on PS3. Now, I wouldn't have much problem with it because I never played a Tony Hawk's game before like that, so it was definitely a challenge for me. But I got used to it fairly quickly. Now, here's the thing. I didn't like the game as much as I wanted to, especially since people telling me that this game is a shit port of the game, so I didn't take that much consideration. But it's an easy platinum if you're skilled enough to handle some of the objectives that game throws at you. But once you complete all the objectives with one singular character, you should be fine. You just have to be patient enough because it's timed. You can't just roam and do all of the objectives at one time. You have to do it in multiple times. But I'll get to more of that later. So, but that's the basic gist of it, what I've been playing. But this week, since the Bethesda announcement, I've been playing a lot of Fallout Shelter.
Indeed, so have a lot of people, including myself, but not on the same platform as you.
Yeah.
It's such an addicting game.
Yeah, I didn't expect that time sick to be that big. Now, I got some history of this game. Back when it was first announced in 2015, in the Bethesda press conference in E3, they revealed it for iOS and Android. I think both at the same time.
It was on iOS first, and then I think after a month it came out to the Android.
So I picked that up and I played the ever living shit out of that game. Like, you have no idea how much I've played this game, to the point that I maxed out all the caps and got almost every single weapon and outfit on the original release. So after I finished, I felt satisfied playing that game. I didn't expect this game to come back again to like a console release, and here we are. It has a trophy list, a platinum, and I decided, okay, well, I'll sink my time again with it. And I just realized how much content they added in that I forgot they added, like quests and Mr. Handy's, and what was the other one? I think there was like multiple new pets, the customizables, crafting,
themes, workshops, crafting. Yeah.
It's like this is a whole new level. Like, now I feel like refreshed enough to actually give it a go again. But at the same time, it's the exact same game I played years ago, but with a new coat of painting. And if I have to say, like, 2 years ago, this game is not what is represented right now. But I'm liking it. I'm liking it.
I have a similar experience, but mainly opposite though. Like, I downloaded it onto my iPad when it was first released. I played it for about a week, maybe a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks, about that time, and I just kind of got bored of it and just sort of deleted it, because I don't really play like mobile games or anything like that. So it was just having a go. And yeah, it was bare bones back then. There was no pets or anything like that. So yeah, I downloaded it on Switch. I'm not bothered about playing it on PS4 for the trophies or anything like that. I just want a casual experience. So I've downloaded it on Switch, and I've been playing it maybe almost every day. And when I mean like every day, I just mean I'll boot it up for 10 minutes, collect my energy, you know, uh, rush some stuff, kill off some raiders, that kind of stuff. I'm not really that into it, so it's just something I'll boot up for 10 minutes and then move on to another game on the Switch or something. So it's not really the kind of thing I want to sink into, even with like time exploits or anything like that. I mean, maybe one day. I mean, it's free after all, so I can just jump in anytime I want. But for the moment, I'm happy just chipping away at it, 10 minutes a day. That's fine. How you'd basically play it on a mobile device, like the average sort of gamer would play it on a. It's fine. I'm fine with it.
The only thing I really don't like about Fallout Shelter on the PS4 is the controls are kind of wonky because you don't have, like, for mobile and the Steam version that came out recently.
Yeah.
You can just pick up your dwellers by holding, like, moving your mouse or moving your finger over them and then dragging them to specific rooms or outside or whatever.
Yeah.
But on the PS4 version, you don't have that kind of mouse interface, so you have to like manually click on a room with X, hover over the guy you want to click on, and then hold X down to drag him somewhere. It's kind of a hassle compared to like the other versions.
I like the physical buttons. Like the Switch has a touchscreen, of course, but I don't use the touchscreen. I use the physical controls, the buttons, the Joy-Cons, and I quite like it. Like you can quickly flick through the people in the room by just tapping A or X on PS4, and and just holding it and dragging them with the analog stick. I can understand obviously a finger or a mouse point is going to be a little bit more fluid, but I personally don't mind it. But then again, like I said, I'm not putting the sheer hours in that some people have. So maybe, because I'm doing it quite lightly, maybe I'm not in it enough to be annoyed by such control scheme. So yeah,
it's mostly just because I've played it on mobile and on the Steam version, so I'm just used to that kind of interface.
I'm kind of the same but as B-Tips, but in a different way. I don't like the collecting sense. You know how in Quest you can send your dwellers and you're in the new map area. For example, you're like in a building and you have to explore each section. So you can, once you finish beating up some raiders or some Deathclaws or whatever,
mole rats, etc.
You can there's like sparkling animation that you have to pick up some extra items. But in the beginning they just skimmed it over. They don't explain it to you. But if you press X on the dweller and then move the analog stick multiple times, you can pick up all the items in like a snatch. But when I first tried it, I thought it was just, if I just have to press X all the time. No, don't do that, because you'll be switching between all of your dwellers trying to pick up all of the items when you're supposed to press the X button and then move the analog stick to pick up the stuff around you, which was weird at first, but now I've gotten the hang of it.
Yeah, when I first started doing quests, that's how I was as well, until I developed the trick where it's just every time, like the moment the last enemy dies, I just click on X on a dweller and I just hold my left stick to the right until it just scans over the entire room, just picking up everything.
Yeah, and sometimes you get loot, lunch boxes, you get armor, craftable items,
quantum Nuka-Cola to make trips faster and whatnot.
Yeah, and I gotta say, now that I realize that you can time skip the game to make the trophies much more easier for some time, you don't have to wait that long to collect every single thing, and you can get free lunch boxes that way. So that's what I've been doing, trying to get all the trophies, knock them down one by one. People are trying to do it legit.
The only thing I could be thankful for is there's no collect every gun or outfit in the game.
Oh, that would be tedious.
If that was a trophy, that would take forever.
Yeah, because you require collecting a certain amount of resources, specific resources, mind you, and then having them crafted in these rooms that fit 3 spaces, and these workshops, you need to stay in there have them tech down, and it takes like literal hours.
It
So
takes like a half hour to craft one gun.
no, it takes like 8 hours to craft some certain guns. For example,
Like
legendary
certain guns,
weapons.
yeah.
I've reached the point I got rare weapons at the moment to craft, and luckily just only have to craft 10 guns and 10 outfits for some trophies. Like you don't actually have to collect all of them, but you do need to
Well,
collect.
that's
You do need
that's
to
definitely a relief though, not having to collect all the weapons and such. So at least they were kind to not make that a requirement for a trophy. Probably made it a bronze trophy as well.
It is a bronze trophy for the crafting. I don't think it's a. I think it's a silver or a gold for the legendary loots. I need to check that trophy list out, but yeah, that's all I've been playing.
Okay, well, I guess that leaves me then. I'll get through this quickly because I've got a few to cover. First of all, the other day I platinumed Resident Evil 6. I said I'd pick that up in a sale a while ago. I've said before, I enjoy the game. It gets a lot of shit online. It's not a great Resident Evil game, but as just a third-person shooter, I like it. It's fine. Some campaigns are better than other in it. You've got the 4 campaigns to play through. I just think the game's a little bit too long. The campaigns are about... So there's 4 campaigns. They're not all the same length, but if I was to roughly estimate, they're about between 4 and 6 hours each. Although the 4th campaign is definitely shorter than the rest of them. But yeah, the game feels a little too long. The gameplay isn't varied enough. There's vehicle chases and there's different bits here and there, but overall it's a little too similar. So it can get a bit boring, but this time though I managed to get the platinum way quicker than I did on PS3. I can't give the exact numbers, but on PSN profiles it tells you the completed, how many hours you completed the game in, basically from when you first started, when you first booted the game up, and then time just counts from that point onwards until you've platinumed the game or 100% or whatever. So looking at the PS3 version, it says like it took me 2 months. So that's not 2 months of like playing it. That's just like I must have stopped and played something else, got bored or something, and came back. But I did it on PS4 in like 1 week and 6 days, so like considerably quicker. I just stuck to it and just gunned through it. And before the E3 show, actually, we were discussing Resident Evil 6 before we started recording, because it was the E3 episode. We weren't talking about what we're playing this week, but we were having a little discussion about it while I was playing Resident Evil 6 before we started the show. And the PS4 version is actually easier, quicker, should I say, sorry. It's easy anyway. This is not a hard game, but it's definitely quicker because you can you get skill points in the game. Basically, it's like in-game credit for killing enemies. They drop an item and you pick it up and it's points, and you spend it to upgrade your character, upgrade abilities and such. In the PS3 version, I had to grind it for like about a week or two, just playing the same chapter over and over again for the big boss enemies to drop the most credits until I could buy all the upgrades, which is the trophy requirement. But in the PS4 version, it includes the DLC, and the DLC has an even harder mode called No Hope mode, and the credit drops, the skill point drops are actually bigger in number, higher. So like your usual 50 credit drop that comes out of a normal enemy will now be 100, and so on and so forth. And I basically could farm the points a lot quicker because the quantity was larger. So it took me, I don't know, just about an hour and a half to actually just grind out everything I needed and get her done, as they say. So yeah, that was good. So I got that done. Then after that, I just wanted to play a couple of small games after putting a lot of hours into Resident Evil. So I picked up Deep Ones and Old Man's Journey. Deep Ones is a really nice little game, actually. It's kind of like Atari / NES kind of like graphics. It's all 8-bit pixelated, really colourful, kind of like how Atari like 2600 kind of was, that kind of like them like reds and yellows and greens and all of that. And it's just set underwater. You're a little diver who has had his submarine stolen, and you've sunk all the way down to the very deepest part of the ocean, and you just basically fight. It's a side scroller, and you have a little gun, like a little harpoon gun, and you fight like pirate ghosts and underwater enemies like crabs and jellyfish and stuff. And yeah, it's got a pretty easy platinum in it, to be honest. You can get it done in about like maybe 4 hours. There's a really cool exploit, actually. See, the game requires, if you're doing it legit, you have to play the game through basically, not completely through 3 times, but you have to play up to a certain point 3 times. It takes about 45 minutes to an hour to reach this point. But there's actually an exploit that I discovered. Actually, it was Trophy Whore on the Discord server that actually pointed me in the right direction. The exploit, when you beat the trophy is to beat a boss 3 times, so basically do the game 3 times. But the exploit is you just quit out of the game during the cutscene where the boss is beaten, and then load the game up again, and it do it 2 more times, and it thinks you beat the boss 3 times, when in reality you've only just watched the cutscene 3 times. So that saved me 90 minutes of extra playtime. So that's awesome. I recommend that. The bosses are pretty tricky though. It's kind of like NES era enemies, kind of like bullets everywhere. You have to kind of like weave between the bullets and such. Kind of reminds me a little bit of like Metroid as well. The kind of like the layout. It's not like Metroidvania, but just the style. Yeah, that's pretty much what I can say about that. It was a pretty cheap game. It was alright. And then Old Man's Journey, I had my eye on for a little while, and I think Justin, you were talking about this game, weren't you?
Bought it a couple weeks ago. I'm like, oh, this kind of looks neat, right up my alley. Kind of small indie game, kind of story-based kind of game, and that's kind of right up my wheelhouse. So I was looking at it, and I saw that you had platinumed it, and I was just kind of wondering and trying to get your input on it.
I really liked it. I thought it was nice. It was very short. I completed it in under 3 hours, and that was me like pausing the game quite a lot and just like browsing Twitter in between and such. I was like really being quite casual with it, but you probably do it in about 2 hours. It's kind of like a little bit of a puzzle game at the same time. So it's like a side-scroller perspective, and you basically manipulate the environment for the old man to like jump over like the hills and stuff. So in the background, you'll have like overlapping hills and meadows, and all you do is you just use like your analog stick like a cursor. You just drag the hills down so they kind of like connect, so you can hop over the hills. It's kind of like a weird kind of perspective. So it's like he's hopping in a 2D. It's kind of like 2.5D in a way. It's hard to explain unless you haven't seen it. You're just manipulating the environment so the old man can get further back deeper further back from the foreground by manipulating the background. It's really light puzzle, to be honest. Really light puzzles. It's very easy. Really pleasant soundtrack. There's a really emotional story as well. I was getting all teared up watching the ending and some of the cutscenes in it. It's just like, no spoilers. It's just an old man. He received a letter, and you don't know what the letter is, but it's explained over the course of his journey. Like he will after every couple of levels, he will sit down and he'll take in his surroundings, and something will remind him of his life, and you'll get a flashback, and you'll see things that happen throughout his life, and he's quite, he's sad about some of them, he's happy about others, and it's a really moving game, like for such a simple game with such a lovely style. So I definitely recommend it, and from a trophy hunter point of view, I recommend it as well because it's really easy. It's got chapter select, by the way, so you can just drop in, you can just play it through blind and then go back, and it's only got one trophy that's pretty tricky, I guess. It's just you're on a train and you have to basically pull the track in front of the train as the train's going along without the train stopping at all. It took me about 3 or 4 attempts at it, but with chapter select you can just basically, if you fail, you just go back and it's not a problem. And the last game I'm playing, or currently playing right now, is I bought Detroit Become Human, and I have only put in a couple of hours of it so far, so I can't go too deep into it, but I'm really enjoying it. This is definitely probably Quantic Dream's best game to date. I really like it. It's better than, in my opinion, it's definitely better than Heavy Rain, and it's better than Beyond Two Souls as well. This is very heavily sci-fi, and I'm well into sci-fi. I'm a big sci-fi nerd, so a game about androids and like android rights and the being self-aware and consciousness, this like right up my alley. I love that kind of stuff, that kind of sci-fi, so it's awesome. And yeah, it's visually wow, like playing on a Pro or 4K TV, the character models are insanely detailed. I mean, this is coming off the back of God of War, where God of War is like obviously like realistic and really good looking, but this is supposed to be kind of like a bit more like photorealism. So like the detail on the characters, when you get close-ups of some of these characters, you'd like all the tiny hairs in the male character's stubble, or like the paws, like the blackheads on their noses, that kind of stuff. Like really minute details in these character models is absolutely astounding to look at on a 4K display. Yeah, it's got the right mix of action. Some sections, you're exploring crime scenes as like a kind of crime scene investigator, forensic kind of like style android. So it's kind of reminds me a little bit of LA Noire. The bits I like about LA Noire is when you go into a crime scene, look at all the evidence and piece it together. same kind of thing here as well. And yeah, I'm really enjoying it so far. So yeah, that's what I can really say about it. It's great. So guys, that pretty much brings us to the end of the what we've been playing section. So we shall just move into the news. It's not going to be like loads of news this week, so we'll get through it pretty quickly. But I'll hand over to Beck, and he will give us the stories. So tell us the news, Beck.
Okay, so we got 4 news stories and 5 of them now. So let's start off with the more obvious one. PS4 is getting the greatest hits. So if you don't know what are greatest hits, is that later down the road they reveal this like a series of collections where you can play these brand new games that came out like 3 years ago in a brand new packaging, and it's like red packaging that comes out. For example, in PS1 we had the Platinums and the greatest hits on US and UK. We had the PS2, we also had the greatest hits and Platinum, and then on PS3 we also have the red casing and the greatest hits logo.
I think these are they were games, popular games in particular, that sold quite a lot of units. So they got this like platinum collection as like back on PS1 and PS2.
Yeah.
PS1 had like a silver border on it. The PS2 games had a silver. Some of them had a silver case with a yellow, if I remember correctly. They had a yellow banner on it. I can't remember PS3, but yeah, basically like the big games that sold loads of units, they just come out cheaper. And generally, this happens towards the end of the console's life cycle. So therefore, naturally, we're seeing it now with the PS4 collections. You know, like what's in it, like Uncharted. What was another one, like a Ratchet and Clank? You know, the big games.
So it's basically, they're not calling it greatest hits anymore. They're calling it the PlayStation hits, which is very self-explanatory. So we got Bloodborne, Drive Club, Infamous Second Son, Killzone Shadowfall, Little Big Planet 3, Ratchet and Clank, The Last of Us Remastered, Uncharted 4, Battlefield 4, Doom, Project Cars, Street Fighter 5, Yakuza Kiwami, Yakuza 0, and Metal Gear Solid 5. Now, I think somewhere down the line they leaked this via Amazon listings, so this wasn't much of a surprise, but it was bound to happen anyway. Although,
generally speaking, the games are then retailed at a lower entry point, like
affordable
budget game, like kind of affordable budget, whatever you want to call it. So they've been out for a while. People who are adopting a PS4 or whatever console of the era later in the life would obviously have more affordable choices. Yeah, so the games are like the big hits that have been on PS4, and I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought there, but I've got it again. Beck was saying about the cases. They've gone for these weird red cases that remind me back in the day of HD DVD. You remember back when Blu-ray and HD DVD were up against each other, and they had those horrible red cases. But yeah, that's what they got, plastic red Blu-ray cases, which I think is a bizarre, but I guess it's just to stand out.
they look awful though. The
Yeah.
red and blue does not mix well.
Yeah, definitely.
On PS3 they just changed even the coloring of the actual case itself, like in the cover art they change it so it's red with the red case, so it actually looks kind of good but off-putting when you put it on your shelf. But this time they decided to not make the case red but leave the blue lining on the PS4, so it's just like weird. It's awful. It looks horrendous, and I don't like it, not even one bit. I just went.
Oh, I just remembered. Sorry, I just remembered why I lost my train of thought. What I was going to say is because their budget level, affordable level pricing, but all these games that Vec just listed off, most of these games you can actually get on PSN in a sale for like much cheaper. They retail around about like £15, whatever, like around that kind of like PSN kind of digital game pricing point, like sort of under £20, I think under $20. But stuff like Ratchet and Clank, Doom, for example, Metal Gear Solid 5, all of them are like almost always in sales for like under a tenner. So before you jump on the bandwagon and think, oh, cheap games, cheap physical games, like if you really don't care about the difference between digital and physical, I'd probably look at these games on PSN first, because like Doom, for example, is almost always in a sale for like well under a tenner. Sometimes I've seen it for like £6, like in a sale. This is Doom 2016 we're talking about here. So you can either spend 15 on a disc if you really care about discs and physical collections, and whatever. But if you're not bothered, like say me, cheaper on PSN. So look first before you look for sales first. Would be my advice before buying any of these like PlayStation hits
Also,
games.
a lot of these games were also free on PS Plus at one point.
Yes, that is also true.
Bloodborne, Ratchet and Clank, Metal Gear Solid 5. Like,
Yeah.
if you haven't gotten them already, then I would say probably buy them for the $20 or just wait on the sale, like Daz said. But
yeah, I would say just wait on a sale, have a look, because most of these games have popped up many times in PSN digital sales in the past, and will probably likely continue to. Although going forward they might not, because they might want to sell discs physically. But I just say hold up, just keep an eye on sales. Always keep an eye on sales, because sometimes you get some real gems in the PSN sales. Anyway, Vic, what's the next one?
So here's something that's popping up left and right. So apparently, the streaming service PlayStation Now will offer downloads later throughout the year. So this is I don't think it's confirmed by Sony themselves as of yet, but there is an option that's been popping up on certain titles on the service that has like a download feature. Now, at this point, there's no confirmation from Sony themselves, but they have been, the option's there, but you cannot use it. So it only works on certain titles. Not every single title will be downloadable. And as of now, people who are thinking of playing, let's say, Demon's Souls on PS4 will be disappointed to realize they can't download the game on their systems. Only select titles have been confirmed as of yet. So it's weird that they're testing this now, and instead of like earlier when the service was new. But I don't know, what you guys think about this?
As someone who has shitty internet, this makes it so that I can actually use PlayStation Now. Like, if I can download games, I can at least play them. Like, the streaming service does nothing for me because my internet is so bad that I can't stream anything. So
Yeah.
I'd be curious to try it if it is true.
Yeah. So
the problem I have with the streaming service is the fact that it's, what was it, $20 a month? I think I saw the price was, and that's just too pricey for my blood. Like, I'm lucky enough to be able to get like a couple games every month. That's just trying to. I mean, I'd love to go back and play some of the older PS3 games and try to earn some platinums, but
yeah,
it's just too rich for my blood.
it's $20.
As for me, I was just saying I've no interest in PS Now at all, like in streaming or anything. I'm happy to download digital games, still buy the odd physical. So this doesn't mean anything to me. But it's cool though. Like, well, I agree with Justin's point of view though. So if your internet can't support streaming, at least this gives you the option. But obviously, it's not going to be on every game, at least not to begin with, or even if ever at all, because we've had no official word on this. But yeah, at least it's optional. If you live in an area where your internet is pretty poor, like rural areas and stuff, or in certain countries and certain areas of even like, largely developed countries that have like great infrastructure, but out in rural areas where it sucks, even like here in the UK, if you're out in the countryside, it can take days to download a massive game, or like, a whole day just to download a patch. So, if you're willing to wait and download an entire game for now, at least you can play it consistently without it dropping and kicking you out, So
Yeah.
I agree with Justin.
Yeah, so PS Now subscriptions are $20 a month. There's a limited time offer for newcomers. So the first month is like $10, and then there's the 1-year subscription, which is $100. So if you want those games, so yeah,
Still too rich for my blood.
yeah, it's like $100 a year for a streaming service. That's like what 700 games on it, around that. So it's your money. You can do it, but I don't feel that it's worth the price if you don't have the quality internet. But if there's like downloading games, like I wonder what those games are, and I wonder what they will do with those supporting. So we'll see more when if they officially announce and give a proper list of games. But this will mitigate because it only streams PS2, PS3, and PS4 games. So that's what we have as of late. So,
Okay.
anyways, our next one, I think Justin is quite hyped about this.
So am I.
Life of Strange 2 will be coming September 27th, 2018. It was revealed.
Well,
I think it was revealed this morning, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah, last night, this morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, yesterday. Little teaser video on the official Twitter.
Yeah. So it's like the logo is like bending over, like getting sewn in behind a backpack, I think, and it says Life is Strange 2. So that's much of a teaser what we have, and more details will coming later this year in August. So, what do you?
This is not surprising because we've got that mini episode that Captain I keep forgetting the
Adventures of
name.
Captain Spirit.
Adventures of Captain Spirit. Yeah, that's like I said last week. It's clearly like a prelude to Life is Strange 2. It's going to like probably introduce the characters, or maybe start us off with one character, and maybe he'll be in Life is Strange 2. He'll be a pivotal part, or so this is not surprising, to be honest. So it's cool. I'm definitely interested. Like we've all in agreement. We love those games. We've played. Most of us here have played them all. All like both seasons. So yeah, all good.
Yeah. Justin, what do you think about this story more than anything, and that coming?
The one coming next week, I'm super excited for. Like, that was one of my games I was excited coming out of E3. Kind of took me by surprise. I was expecting to see something from Life is Strange. I was expecting it to be Life is Strange 2. And then they dropped this Captain Spirit thing. I'm like, oh, this is kind of like a mediator between season 1 and season 2. Like, just to kind of keep us busy while season 2 comes out.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, season 2 is coming in like a month and a half, too. So it's like, well, I mean, I'm always down for more Life is Strange, but it just kind of seems weird that they spent all this time promoting Captain Spirit when where was the announcement for Life is Strange 2 at E3? But I'm not complaining. I'll take it. I will play this, and I will play Life is Strange 2 when it comes out, and I'll be happy.
I think they wanted to expand upon the story a bit more before like dropping this teaser. Like, I think they wanted to like get people hooked in because it's 100% free. You can just play it. Nothing. There's no extra episodes. Nothing. This is the whole game. Here it is. This is a teaser. What we're gonna do next. If you like this, then you like this. I think this is what they're trying to do. Like,
Well, remember they gave away the first episode of the very first Life is Strange for free. So rather than give away the first of it's 5 episodes. It said starting September, that'll be episode 1, and then in the future you'll have the four other ones. So rather than giving away the first one again, they're probably doing this separate one specifically to give away free to get people to the taste of Life is Strange just in general, like the franchise, and then introduce people into the sequel, or even interest people to buy the first game or the prequel. It's just free sample, isn't it?
Yeah, although if I'm not sure if you know, but it was revealed on PS Plus, the first game for Life is Strange. So I don't know. It's interesting what they were trying to do. Maybe give people enough time to play that and Before the Storm. I know, Justin. I know. I will play it, but
Just play it.
I will. I need to find a copy or download the game.
I'm probably gonna do what I do with every wait till they're all out and then just play it in my own leisure, because I hate waiting for the next episode for episodic games, so I always just wait. And also, a rule of thumb seems to be on PSN and just digital stores in general. Once all the episodes are out, the season pass drops in price, so it's even more reason to wait, to be honest. But I just wait anyway. Like, price aside, I always wait because I like to just play it in one go. Like, I'll buy the season pass, all the episodes, and then I'll play one a day, and then that's how I like to do my episodic games anyway. I don't like waiting months for the next one, like on cliffhangers or whatnot. So, yeah.
So Justin, when do you want me to remind you when the pre-orders are up so you can do it? So.
I probably won't pre-order it. I don't usually pre-order games, but I will buy it. I buy everything digitally, so then I don't really need to pre-order anything.
True that.
Okay. Anyways, our next story is regarding PS4 sharing. So, I'm not sure, past E3, there has been multiple people that have noticed that their Twitters and PS4 accounts are delinking for some reason. So, I'm not sure how the situation has progressed, but so far, uh, as of this recording, I don't think the
It's fixed.
it's fixed. Okay.
As of
It was
this
fixed this
recording,
morning.
it's fixed.
It
It was fixed this morning.
Oh, this morning.
So just to basically go into a little bit more detail, is it started Sunday, this Sunday just gone, so a week ago tomorrow as of this recording. And basically, what Vector said, people started realizing that they couldn't share to Twitter. Their Twitter accounts were being unlinked automatically from their PSN account. So when they went to go back in to like relink and sign back into Twitter through PSN, it would say like, "Oh, cannot connect to the server." And people were getting annoyed, like rightly so. It's like such a basic thing. We've had it since the start, and when it's taken away, people are annoyed at it. It's become such a daily thing for like a staple, and such a daily thing for people playing games to share their experiences with their Twitter followers or and whatnot. I don't think any other service was affected. It was just Twitter. So, but as of like yesterday, it started to work, but it didn't seem to affect everyone. It affected almost everyone I saw, but some people on Twitter were still unaffected. Like the odd person here or there was still sharing, and I'd be like, "Oh, is it fixed?" And like, "Oh, I was never affected," like. And I think, Vic, did you say to me on Twitter as well? There was also like Japanese accounts could still use it.
So I saw when I searched, because whenever you post something on Twitter, it goes under the hashtag PS4 share. So if you click on that, it shows what are the recent ones that have been posted. So upon that, I noticed that every single one that was posted recently was mostly a Japanese account. So that was weird. Why would Japanese accounts not affected while the US and EUs were affected as such? And I thought I could dig deeper, but I didn't find much. But what I did find is that some users got affected, and I think were mostly early adopters of the system that got affected more than the people that got it recently. So I am not sure how that works, but it feels like it. But
Either way, it's fixed now, and everyone's back on. I shared some screenshots of Old Man's Journey yesterday just to the test, and it seems working fine now. It obviously pissed a lot of people off for the last few days. Everyone tagging PlayStation support and stuff on Twitter and hounding them about it. But these things you just have to wait them out. There's nothing we can do at this end at the consumer level. What can we do? You just got to wait for people to sort their shit out at the server level, the system level. So it is annoying. It's sort of like it's like when PSN went down in 2011. It's like, what can we do? We can hound PlayStation and on whoever's involved, but ultimately we just got to sit and wait.
no,
Obviously it's not as big this time.
yeah. Here's one thing I noticed. I mean, two things. One, I feel like this was done to update the like the Twitter support, so that it goes from 120 to 240, because back when PS4 came out, they used the Twitter service. Twitter at that time had only 120 characters can be used, and now it supports like 240. So my theory was, they're doing maintenance so they can bring that feature up, because they always had 120 characters per share via Twitter. So that was my theory. But the other thing I noticed is that there's no response from Sony PlayStation support. No notification. No, hey, we're gonna do a maintenance. Try not to share screenshots or nothing on Twitter, so we can make this happen faster, so you guys can use this feature. Nothing was, unleashed. Nothing. Everybody was contacting support, and what was the common response? We're working on it.
Yeah, it was probably just something that happened either at PlayStation's end or at Twitter's end. They've updated something somewhere, and basically it's just not compatible. It's just not talking to the other one. But I thought it was going to be one of those situations where it's like the PS Vita. Funny story, but PS Vita, like in American regions, has Netflix on it, whilst in the EU regions, at least in the UK, it did not. And basically, the answer that was given to people who asked, it was like, oh, people would ask Sony, people would ask Netflix, and the answer always was Sony said this is a Netflix issue. Netflix say this is a Sony issue. You know, like neither would give a definitive answer. Like I thought that would be the case, like Sony blaming Twitter, Twitter blaming Sony, but it's fixed now. It was fixed in less than a week, and it's all working. So yeah, just hope it doesn't happen again because it's a learning experience. And yeah, I would have been nice. I agreed with Vex Theory when he first came out with it. I'm thinking, oh, they might have taken it down to update it to the new larger character limit, but no, it doesn't seem to be the case. It just seems to be a system error. Something bad happened, but it's done now.
Oh well.
Yeah. So what's next, Vic?
Okay, so our next story is basically Tetsuya Nomura, I think it's the one of the heads of Kingdom Hearts 3 and Final Fantasy 7 Remake, basically admits that they were announcing them too early, and I have to agree with him. Yes, they were announced too early, and we've been hearing about this so much time, but this creates a point of contention. What do you think is the approximate time that you can reveal a game to its release? Like how much time in between that gap? What do you guys
Sooner the better.
The sooner the better.
I'd say within a year.
A year, Justin?
I'd say this is a duh. Like, yeah, no shit, you released it or did it too early.
Yeah.
Revealed. Like,
Yeah.
you obviously are like. They announced this Final Fantasy 7 remake.
Mm-hmm.
It's been how long since they revealed it? 5 years? 3? And they're still hiring people for their. They still
I
don't
think they've just
know what
started
this
it
is yet.
Basically, I think they've just started it again.
Yeah, they restarted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like,
definitely
well,
not
obviously,
coming out anytime soon.
so obviously, like, I mean, I get you want to build some hype, but at a certain point, you're detracting from your hype. In my opinion, anyways. I mean, I don't know. Knowing some people out there that like know Final Fantasy 7 is being made, and that's all they need. But
The last best sort of like big announcement was like Bethesda when it came to revealing Fallout 4. They revealed it, and it's like it's out at the end of the year, and that was awesome. Like a huge game.
yeah, it was like
They just
4
dropped
months
it.
later.
Yeah, and like that's the best that is the best possible situation. Like something that's been in the works for a long time. Kudos for them for keeping it under wraps for so long, and just enough to be like, oh, here it is. It's coming out end of the year, job done. That's the best situation. Obviously, it doesn't always go that way. I mean, look at all the leaks that have revealed Assassin's Creed games in the past and all of that. There's all those factors as well. But yeah, I mean, the closer it is to done and being shipped, that's a good time. I understand, obviously, you want to build, like you said, build hype, get the pre-orders in, get people interested, get the message out there, because just dropping a game isn't always good for public perception or people having the knowledge that the game even exists. You look at some games that come out on like PSN, for example, like on the digital storefront. Some games just fly completely under the radar and nobody even knows about them. There's plenty of like hidden games on there that never even got a chance. Like PSVR, for example, there's loads of games that come out for PSVR, but a lot of them are not even on the radar. I mean, if you read like the PlayStation blog weekly drop, fair enough and all of that, but really with like PSVR in this situation, there's tons of games on there that just go completely unnoticed unless you try them, and that's also the downside of just releasing too soon of announcing. So
I have to agree with you because there's some games like I don't know about you guys, but Double Fine is making another game called Knights and Bikes, and that got no attention. I only figured it out this weekend. Starting this weekend, it's like, oh wait, they're making a new game. Why haven't I heard about this? And it was revealed during E3, but there's no hype about it. And this other game which came out, which is coming on VR, which is, I think it was Blind. I know it's a
yeah.
yeah, like those two like games that were revealed during the E3 session. Those caught my attention, but I had to actively search for them. And I feel like those are the games that you should highlight, not those games that everybody knows about or has any attention to, because we are already hyped about this. Give us games that we don't know about.
It's definitely a like a balance act. There's definitely a sweet spot of like too soon, too late. So but it's not like a tiny window of time. You can reveal a game like a year, and that's plenty of time. But yeah, Square Enix has just become basically a meme for like announcing games way too early. I mean, case in point, like Kingdom Hearts 3, and definitely this Final Fantasy remake that's just been knocking around forever. And like the fact that like it's basically being started again, and they're hiring people just surely if you're really hyped for that game, it's just going to annoy you to know that they're basically not really even started on it. So
Yeah.
Well, and I even like Bethesda and this new Elder Scroll game, right? They announced that it's coming, right? Elder Scrolls 6, right? It's 6.
Yeah, and
Six, yeah.
It's like they give you a little teaser thing. They give you a little teaser thing. And it's like, okay, and now they're gone. So like, I mean, I've been critical of Death Stranding too. It's like that game that we've been hearing about for years.
Yep.
Oh, for at least another year.
Good example.
Right, like just go away. Make the game. I don't need to see a cinematic trailer every 2 year or every year. Like just go away, make the game. When it's ready to show it.
The difference between like Death Stranding and the other games is that we've seen a lot of gameplay and like video trailers and whatnot. It's just they've never given us a release date for it.
Yeah, that's another one. But
The game looks like it's like I guess like closer to develop, like finished. It's just they've never popped the release window for it.
Hmm.
yeah.
Okay. All right, Vic. Is there any more news?
One more, but we're gonna skim this because we're running out of time. But B-Tips, you want to bring out the Bethesda lawsuit against Warner Brothers?
Yes.
Yes. So,
Bethesda. Oh, you want to go? Go ahead.
No, do it.
No,
Go
it's
ahead.
just I don't know the entire story behind this, but apparently there was some code in the new Westworld mobile game
Mm-hmm.
where it's kind of similar to Fallout Shelter, and apparently Bethesda discovered that there was some code from Fallout Shelter in this Westworld game.
Okay.
But they're bringing Warner Brothers to court over it.
Okay. So I've read.
Well, it's the same developer, isn't it?
No.
Like it's the developer's the same
No. Okay. So I got
that made the. Okay, yeah. Read your.
Okay, so basically, Behavior it was approached by Bethesda back in 2014 to develop what we now know as Fallout Shelter. They gave them the code, but I don't think they actually developed the actual game. So what they did was they canceled all of it and made it so it's in-house, and that's how they made the game in-house for Bethesda. Now, Behavior got the code, an early version of the code, which included some bugs that Bethesda was able to detect and was used into the game Westworld Mobile, which came out a few days ago as of this recording. So, this game features some bugs that were also available at early versions of Fallout Shelter when it first came out. And those bugs have already been patched, but they're very visible in Westworld Mobile. So Bethesda is now suing Warner Brothers and Behavior for a legal breach of contract against that. So it's a weird balancing act between how close of a resemblance is Westworld towards Fallout Shelter, but it goes even deeper into the code, because if both of them match, then they're basically screwed and have to take the game down and rebuild it from the ground up. Otherwise, they have to face legal consequence. I think that's how it goes.
See, that's the problem that a lot of people have, is that they look at it from the outside and not the in. they're like, oh, this is just a clone of Fallout Shelter, but it's not copywritten, so them to court over that. You don't understand that copying one game's code to another is pretty much like copyright, since they have the rights over Fallout Shelter along with everything that goes on with it.
Yeah.
So
That's how Fallout New Vegas got. I mean, Obsidian got the engine used for Fallout New Vegas. They used the Fallout 3 engine and was asked for Bethesda in order to develop that game using that engine, and that's how they used it and made the game much better. As most people.
it's such a great game it was.
Yeah. So this is like using it illegally and to their own terms. Now you may say, "Oh wait, but Unreal Engine, people use that, or the Havoc engine, but those are free to use. Anyone can use. Nobody's copyrighted this." So what this makes a difference that this is made by Bethesda. It has Bethesda's name on it. You cannot use it unless Bethesda authorizes you to use it. So that's the difference between multiple engines. So
And just speaking about engines anyway, they usually, like, if a developer wants to use an engine, they will, buy the right to use the engine off of the company who built the engine in the first place.
exactly.
So it sounds like from here that basically the gist of it is they had some old code knocking around that Bethesda gave them. Bethesda changed their mind and developed it in-house. They probably still had some of that code knocking around and basically either used it or plagiarized it into their own game. So like while maybe Westworld out, from the outside doesn't look much like Fallout or anything, but it's just the actual core of the game that may have been basically copy and pasted over. But this is an interesting one to keep an eye on anyway. So guys, that is the end of the news section. So we should move on to our tricky trophy section. And you guys each have your own individual ones, and I'm going to read a couple from the section from the thread on Discord. So tricky trophy segment, by the way, if you haven't joined us before, it's the we look back for our own collections and we just pick out a few of the annoying ones that we've played in the past, ones that we've struggled with, that've just been boring, and we just have a little talk about them. So I tell you what, Justin, what is your tricky trophy for this week?
So mine comes from Madden NFL 18. It's called Triple Crown, which basically you have to tackle the quarterback, get him to fumble, and get the fumble recovery with the same player on the same play. So basically what you have to do is you have to tackle the quarterback, get him to drop the ball, and then pick up the ball with that same player. And it's quite not difficult. I mean, it's fairly easy to just keep repeating and kind of bang your head against the wall until it finally happens. But it just kind of takes a little bit of time, and you kind of have to maneuver. And then there's a guide. There's a guide out there that does it, and it apparently makes it easier. That I didn't find it all that much easier. But you set it up so that you're playing against yourself with two controllers, and you punt the ball to yourself, kind of thing. But it's one of those things that takes a little bit of setup, and it's a little bit frustrating when it's like your guy knocks him over, gets the ball loose, and then kicks it into the outfield or something. And there's a lot of like little bugginess happening when that goes down. So
I love that trick. Like when you read a trophy guide and it says, "Oh, you can achieve this with two controllers by yourself." I love it.
Yeah.
That's the best trick ever. Like sometimes it makes trophy when it's like, oh, it's got co-op trophies, and you kind of like you roll your eyes and think, oh, here we go, I'm gonna have to go and find someone to boost, and then underneath it's like, but can be done with two controllers. I'm like, yes, excellent.
Yeah.
This is worth the extra 60 quid for another controller.
Exactly. Yeah.
I just recently bought a second controller, so it works wonders for me if ever I see trophies like that.
Yeah, I mean, the reason I have two controllers is so I can swap them around when the batteries run out. But this also helps with trophy hunting as well, when you can, basically play, with your own self, your own other player to make trophies way easier.
Yeah.
I've definitely got many platinums for doing that, and that's a great one.
God forbid
Go
you
on,
actually get a PS3 controller at this rate, because it's so difficult to get an OG PS3 controller and not distinguish it from a fake outside, like on eBay. I'm not sure if you guys noticed how difficult it is to identify bootleg PS3 controllers at this point. So yeah, it's.
Okay.
I just wanted to bring that up.
Fair enough. B-Tips, what's your tricky trophy?
My key trophy is from Persona 4 Golden on the PS Vita, and it is called Hardcore Rosette Fan, and it requires you to hear 150 of Rise's navigation lines.
Hmm.
And how you go about this is Persona 4, you eventually, like in Final Fantasy, like throughout the game, you acquire like party members, and you level them up and whatnot. But Rise isn't one of those kind of people. Like you acquire her as a party member, but she's mostly a support person rather than a fighter. She like depending on how you level her up through her social link, she'll acquire new perks like increasing your attack or defense or your evasion. But what you need her to do to get this trophy, and it's a bronze trophy by the way,
Insult to injury.
yeah, you need her to. Every single character has their own individual lines. Like if a character gets poisoned or falls asleep or becomes berserk, she'll say a line for everyone. And what you need, I think there's about 400 lines in the game total, and you need to hear 250 of them. Like, as soon as you acquire her, you have to immediately go to work trying to unlock it. It's. I don't recommend doing this on the first playthrough because on the second playthrough, not only do you want to enjoy the story first, but on the second playthrough, you're able to like screw with the game almost, where you can adjust how much experience you get, how much damage you do, how much money you earn. You can use this to help like doing not like a lot of damage to an enemy, and and Rise will say, "Oh, good work," like so and so. And you can have this for every single character and get like lines out of the way for it. Um,
So it sounds like a lot of work then.
it is
It's one
a
of
lot of
it's
work.
one of those ones where it's not necessarily difficult, but just a time sink, right?
Yeah, it took up my entire second playthrough just getting this one trophy.
Oh man, that sucks.
And there was another trophy for earning all the personas in the game, and that takes less time than this.
Huh.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. That moving on to you then, Vec. What's your one?
So mine is from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater HD. It's called Completist. So what you have to do is complete all of the projectives with only one character. That sounds about easy, except it's not. The reason being is that in order to collect all the projectives at the first place, you need to complete every single objective on the career mode with one character in order to unlock all the projectives with that same character. So you have to complete the career first with every single objective completed, which should take you some time, but once you do it, then you unlock the completist. And here's the thing, the projectives require you to complete a set amount of objectives within a minute. Not all of them. After you complete one, it states check mark, so it's easier by that standard. But here's the kicker, you have to do a combo by collecting the letters COMBO in a straight line without losing the combo, otherwise you lose the letters and you have to restart again. And you have to do it flawlessly because you only have 1 minute to collect them all, and then complete it so you can get to the other one, which is doing a set amount of points at doing a combo with a set amount of points, and then doing a complete run using a set amount of points. And it goes to like that 100,000s at that point. So you have to constantly go making tricks right up your alley in order to get enough points to get it. So that's easier because you can easily just do a super grind move and then do the multiplier trick that raises your multipliers to get a high number and a high multiplier and mix it both together so you can get a higher score. But here's the one I had more trouble with. there's some collectibles that you only can collect one in one run. So there's these skateboards that are set in a like a straight path that you can show off in order to get all of them. But you only have like this set amount of time to collect one of each skateboard in one set pattern. And if you fail to get one of them in time, you may not have enough time to recover them, and therefore you have to start all over again. And some of these skateboards are super hard to reach. For example, one of them requires you to go into a half pipe and then grind on the top area of a level, then jump down and then rummage up to another section up in the tallest part, and then jump again to the bottom and flawlessly collect all of them without failure. Otherwise, you cannot get all of those objectives. And then the final one would be use a boneless, which is a trick that you use the up, and then X in order to jump on top of this hobo, which spawns around the actual like area of the map. And once you complete all of the projectives in each area, then you can move on to the next one, and then it becomes surprisingly harder. And it takes more time, and then you have to complete the next one and the next one and the next one, and it just becomes outright tedious at points, because then you're like, oh wait, I'm like this one more, and this one more because it's only 1 minute to do it. So it's like one more try, and I did it with Tony Hawk Maxed Out, and it took me, I think, a 3-hour session just doing it all in one sitting, and it was horrible. I don't recommend it to anyone to do it, but
Well, I won't. I don't play skating games or any kinds of sport games, so I'm well clear.
So-
yeah, and this was the last trophy for the platinum of this game, which, by the way, as of this recording, it stands out at 13.86%, and it has an online trophy. So once that game has their servers shut down, I'm sorry, you're never gonna get this platinum. So be on the careful with this game. So,
This is why I'm glad. This is why I'm glad that I played Tony Hawk back on the early days of the PS1. So I would never have to go through the hassle of trying to get trophies for any Tony Hawk game in the future.
Yeah, you see, this is why I like to buy games on the Switch, because the Switch doesn't have a trophy or an achievement
Absolutely.
system, so I don't have to stress. So if there's games on PS4 that I would like to try, but they're available on Switch, and I'm not sure, I probably wouldn't bother with the platinum. I'll just get them on Switch now and just play them casually.
That's exactly why I plan on buying Wolfenstein 2 for the Switch, because I have no intention of trying to go for that platinum.
Oh
Yeah, indeed.
The Uber trophy. Oh boy.
Yeah.
Uber trophy.
Anyway, so that leaves me, but I'm not doing my own personal tricky trophy. I'm going to actually read just a handful out from our tricky trophies thread on our Discord server. We have users basically submit their own little horror stories, if you will, their own little anecdotes of their tricky trophies. So I'm just going to read 3 out, and that should be enough, and then we'll round off. So firstly, I'm going to start with this one is from Goodry. This is truly awesome for Rayman Legends, and they write, this one trophy is a deal breaker for anyone who wants a quick and easy plat. It's not hard, but annoying and needlessly grinding. For PS4, I think it's at 0.5% rarity. To get this trophy, you must obtain enough points from in-game cups to reach level 11 of awesomeness. Problem is that if you beat the game 100%, you're still missing 2,000 points. The only way to get more points is by doing online daily weekly challenges. If you're a platformer god, you can get this in 20 days. Realistically, though, this will probably take you around 4 months if you don't suck at platformers, if you do every single day, like a 30-minute ritual. Now, I can attest to this one personally. Not that I've got this trophy, but I've played Rayman Legends, and yeah, you have to do daily mini games basically for a month, over a month to level up enough. And yeah, I didn't platinum that game because nuts to that, because not into that. So yeah, that's definitely a good tricky trophy. The next one we've got is by Mag. This is Master Jedi for Super Star Wars. You know, the Super Nintendo port of the game, the side-scroller, adventure side-scroller.
Yep.
They write, This trophy sounds near impossible, and I can assure you it isn't. However, it is very difficult and annoying. This trophy makes it so you have to beat the game on Jedi mode, which is essentially hard mode, without dying once. Like I said, this sounds impossible, but the game does let you use save states. However, this does not change the fact you can still die very, very easily. The bosses, for example, have way too much health and are the very definition of bullet sponges. But they can kill you in just 5 or 6 hits if you have full health. It's too bad this game doesn't have a platinum trophy, because this very achievement and other annoying ones I feel warrant one. And yeah, I can agree with that. I was very interested in getting Super Star Wars, but when I saw it didn't have a platinum and I saw it was actually very hard, I was thinking it's not worth it, so I didn't bother. The next one I've got, which I'm going to make my last one, is my price list. This is Poker Ace for Red Dead Redemption. They write... hold on, I'm just summing it up. The Rockstar gods were against me that day. I decided to do this. The servers were, I'm quoting, were fucking trash. I'm just going to read it as it's written. We're all adults here, and I'm not going to get into how my pals were trolling me the whole time, talking about let's play trophy roulette and see who gets the trophy at random. I was next to the last to get the trophy because RNG, because random. And my pal Nomad decided to take us all back to free roam right as the blind double for the last time. But overall, if you're going for this trophy, hope the servers hold up and don't decide to get the trophy by random. Now, if I remember correctly, this is obviously a trophy you get for playing poker in the game. I'm pretty sure I got this during the single player. I think there's a way to actually get it very easily during the single player. You can replay one of the missions where it's basically a tutorial for the poker games in the game, and you just basically put up your money to like maximum the amount you're going to put in the pot, and I think you just get the trophy. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I can remember. I remember getting the poker trophies in the campaign.
I don't remember this. I didn't do this on PS3, mind you. I did this on the Xbox 360 back when Red Dead Redemption was still relevant. But when I went for these poker trophies, I know nothing about poker, mind you.
No, me neither.
I know zero about poker, but I played both online poker and the single-player poker, and I don't remember this trophy being too hard.
Yeah, I didn't either.
It didn't take me that long to get, even though I suck at online poker, it didn't take me too long. I don't remember if I got this in single player or the online poker game, but
No, I got the description. It says, in a multiplayer poker game, beat the table when the blinds are at maximum. So
so it is a multiplayer only one. Okay, my mistake. Okay, there's definitely a poker one I got for winning. I think it was for winning loads money back. Yeah, I probably don't have this one because I didn't really do much of Red Dead Online. All right, guys, that pretty much brings us to the end of this episode. It's been a nice one. We've talked about a lot of things. Thanks everyone for listening. Before we sign off, Justin's had to slip away, so guys, you can follow him on Twitter at thisjustingames. So that's his Twitter tag. You can find me on Twitter at thedazil. Vec, where can people find you?
You can find me on Twitter at dvictronik. B-tips. What about you?
B-tips.
You can find me on Twitter at gamerbtips.
Cool. Okay, guys, thank you for listening. As always, you can find our episodes on our YouTube channel, The Trophy Trust. Please support us there by subscribing to our episodes. Thanks to everyone who leaves positive comments. It's always nice to see support. You can also find updates on our Twitter at The Trophy Trust. There in the profile, you can find a link to the Discord server that we record these episodes through. Come and join the community. We're always on the grow. Always just a really nice community here. Everyone seems to get along. We talk trophies and mainly just troll each other. So it's all good, all in good fun. We have loads of memes and ongoing jokes here. It's a nice community. Come and join us. Guys, if you like the show and enjoy it, why not consider supporting us on Patreon for as little as $1 a month? We're a non-profit podcast. We don't make any money out of it. However, the hosting costs to keep all the episodes up and online and on iTunes, on SoundCloud, then we need to chuck a few dollars towards it to keep them all up. So why not consider that? This has been the Trophy Trust. Thank you all for listening. Come join us next time and keep